Okay, salvete. Mihi nomen est, Stella, ad hoc est. Batgirl the Oracle, the Barbara Gordon podcast, episode 214, the 12th anniversary episode for December MMXXI. Batgirl the Oracle is brought to you by MileHighComics.com, your new and collectible comic book store. Mile High Comics has an inventory of over 5 million comics from the gold, silver, bronze, and modern age, and over 100,000 trade paperbacks. If you're not into the vintage stock, Mile High Comics also has a subscription service called the New Issue Comics Express, offering a discounted price for comics ready to hit the shelves. So if you're looking for vintage back issues or a great modern subscription service, be sure to check out milehighcomics.com. Well, it's been a while since you've seen this person's face on the screen, and I felt it was appropriate to have her on for Batgirl's #1, and it just so happened to be the 12th anniversary. So please welcome back to the show, honored guest, my chief Tata correspondent, Professor Carolyn Coco. Welcome back.
Hello, it's great to be back and happy anniversary.
Thank
and
you.
Yo Saturnalia. It's Saturnalia right now, right?
Yes.
So we should celebrate that for a
We
week or whatever they used to do.
We should just go wild.
Yes. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here and to talk about Batgirls, since I have been talking about wanting a book called Batgirls for a very, very long time. And here
absolutely. Here, finally. Yeah. So certainly one of the questions I'll want to ask is, oh my gosh, was it worth it? And no spoilers. No spoilers. We'll have to talk about that. But yes, finally, I think we've been asking for years, probably since we saw, what was it? Issue 24 from Brian Q. Miller's run, where it was in the future.
I actually put that in my notes.
Oh,
I've been waiting for this since number 24. Brian Q. Miller.
I'm usually not good about issue numbers, but I'm pretty, that sticks in my mind of that
Me
future.
Too.
The future, and seeing all those Batgirls working together. And they had the Robins book, a couple years ago that didn't turn out well. So it's like, why not? Why not?
Right. And even just that Batman Inc. made me think, why not Batgirl Inc.?
Yeah.
So yeah, you put all that together and it just seems so obvious that this was the way to go.
Indeed. I think it was the patriarchy that was keeping us from what we wanted.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Now I also asked you on this show because you owe me a great deal of money. And I felt like it was the best way to get the money that you owe me by inviting you on so that you can't scurry away. But I promoted you without any reason to, really. It just pops up, and I feel like each time there's a ka-ching. So when am I getting my check?
It's in the mail. It might, get slowed down with all the holiday mail that's around.
Sure.
But you should be on the lookout for that for sure.
Okay. Thank you so much. I can't wait. Okay.
Yes, you've been very kind in pimping my various writing projects. So I appreciate that.
And it's not even like me purposefully doing it, but it just like works in really well. No, it's not like, let me try to promote her right now. It's just, it works well with the content and everything. So I'm very happy to do it.
Oh, thank you.
Anniversary memories I have put down since it's the 12th. And I guess it's just this year. Do you have any fond memories of 2021 as we say goodbye to it? And do you have any maybe standouts for Batgirl the Oracle? I have to scratch my head on this one as well.
You mean like fun Batgirl moments of the year?
Yeah, could also do that. Some Barbara Gordon moments.
No, I really enjoy watching you, when being on YouTube. So I would just say that feels like more fun. It kind of feels like I'm in the room with you. So I would say that really is my best moment, and it's a monthly moment. So it's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that it feels that way, like there's an intimacy there. And besides technology and that, I'm not doing anything fancy with YouTube, it's been fun. And I think it's also nice just to be authentic and like show how I'm actually feeling about the comics. And it's also fun to see people and laugh with them is a lot of fun, because when it's just a voice, and I'll laugh at anything, but it's just fun to see people and laugh at them. Like anytime Donovan comes on and I see his face, I start laughing. So that's been
For
a lot
sure.
of fun. Yeah.
But you've had other guests too over the last year.
I
None
have.
of whose names I can think of right now. That's terrible.
No.
Someone that you taught with, right?
Yes. Yes. My work husband, Father Sean McDermott. That
Mhm.
was a lot of fun. Got to bring him on, pop his podcasting chair. He said it. Those were his words. The priest
Cla-
said it.
Classy till the last.
Indeed. Yeah. Donovan, of course, he's always a mainstay. And then Shagalicious came on to talk about the birds of prey, which was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
the land that time forgot, I think it was.
Yes, and I agreed with both of you that that was sort of a fun closer, but not the kind of profundity you might expect from
Yeah.
the close. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested. I hope to have Chuck on again just to talk about his run as a whole. And that'd be really interesting to see what he
Yeah.
thinks, how that all turned out.
Yeah,
But
that'll be cool. But I'm looking forward to getting into the Gail Simone run because that's where I started. I read the whole Gail Simone run and then I went back and read the whole Dixon run.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so
we'll
I look
see.
forward to it.
Yeah, that's Ian Prime. Ian Miller also is excited for that. And I think my hesitancy, of course, is just being burned on the new 52, of course.
Sure.
And then her final Birds of Prey run, which would that be
No.
volume 3 or whatever with the
I
white
mean,
canary?
yeah, no. So what does it start with? 58, 53, something like that. And it goes to 108, maybe 53 to 108, possibly. So there's a lot in there. And there are guests that you're going to like. And just the main relationship, of course, with Dinah is
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, especially building up the crew and having more faces there. So I've
Yes.
known about a bunch of them, but I've not seen them in action. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But yeah, the end was not the same as the bulk of it.
does it
No,
go downhill?
no, just what you were saying about that last little bit.
Oh, I see. Yes.
I don't think that's indicative of the rest of it.
Okay. Well, that is good. Yeah. So I just need to, and it's been a while since I've read Gail Simone. So I feel like I'll be coming in clean because I think if I had just read something like New 52 and then gone it, then I'd be really like upset and not giving her a fair chance.
Well, I went into the New 52 thinking to myself, no one knows Barbara Gordon as well as Gail Simone. That was the feeling I came away with from her run of Birds of Prey.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if you feel the same way too.
Okay. Those are big words.
Those are big words. and I'm choosing them carefully because I really do mean it.
Do you have any, we'll move on from this, but since the year is ending, do you have any positive moments or highlights from 2021? I don't want to put you on the spot. I know and we can always do the find your joy section of
course. Some girl gave me this mug.
Indeed. Yes. One can only aspire to be Grogu.
Stella gave me this mug. So it's, protect, attack, snack. Well, Baby Yoda, because we talked a lot about Grogu. We talked a lot about Grogu.
Yeah.
But I think and some of your listeners may know that for the most part, I have had, without exaggeration, the worst year of my life. So it's hard for me. I definitely tried to practice gratitude during that time. But so I would say, I guess the best thing about this year has been friends and family being really supportive of me during this time. And we don't have to drag it down now, but at the end, I could say a little bit about what that was about in the form of a kind of public health, public service message.
Sure.
Because I don't mind telling people I've had some health issues and they were sort of unexpected to me. So I would kind of like to tell people, not in great detail, about them in case you have something similar in your family that you can check out.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever you feel comfortable. I'm I think daily or maybe at the very least, weekly,
Mhm.
I was I'm trying to think of like the correct modifier to use. I don't know. astounded or proud just of what you were going through, and that just you were pushing on, and just your grit, I think, and your and I know that sometimes it may not have felt like that, but I just felt all like, man, there's she's really getting knocked down, but she's continuing to keep going.
It was a
So
weeble wobble situation. I just kept
yeah,
popping back up.
but I think you're just a good model for that. So yeah, whatever you want to say to people, because it is hard, but yeah, hearing that from you, and I think people can take some lessons from that too, and hope as well.
Okay, yeah, so we can talk about that later.
Sure, sure. Okay.
What
For
about
me,
you? You have a
yeah, the highlights of 2020, going back to Broadway was certainly a highlight for me, because of course, you and I had plans to see the gender flipped version of
company?
Company. And I think New York City like paused Broadway with the thought that it was, just give us a couple weeks and then we'll pull it up, which it didn't happen that way. But I remember that they were gonna reopen maybe a couple days after we had our original show. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But ended up just getting shut down completely. So I couldn't see it. And it's always just really heartening to go to New York once a year. And I, of course, just stay a day, but to see a show and be in the center of that culture is just really wonderful. I usually get verklempt when, the lights come down and the curtain comes up. I'm like, oh, it's so emotional. So seeing Six and getting to do that with my former student Claire was just a lot of fun. I recently won tickets to a Broadway show because of a short essay I just whipped out about Light in the Piazza. And of course, you were my go-to number one choice to go see it. So now, hopefully, I'm a bit scared with everything's going on, so fingers crossed, but hopefully we are going to see Company and redeem ourselves and see that again.
Hopefully, yeah. I have you seen over the past few days the number of shows that have canceled
Yeah.
performances, and Jagged Little Pill just closed entirely.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I know.
it's like a day by day, show by show basis, it seems. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Company itself had a food poisoning situation. I guess audiences were seated, lights were about to go off, and they're like, "I'm so sorry, it's canceled." So
Yeah.
golly. I think I did a 3-part end of the year review with Donovan and Harry over at
Mhm.
Questions We Don't Have Answers, which was like a
Quinoa.
10-hour record. Quinoa, yes, thank you. 10-hour recording. I said it was 200, but we went through my top 10 things that really affected me over this 2021, and I won't. But the body's hit the floor. I won't go into the 10. That wasn't me. That was your situation. My number one actually was all of my anti-racist and racial and Black stories that I have been reading throughout 2021. And it's been a lot, but it's really helped me grow as a person. And I'm still on that track. I sort of related it to the Ordo Salutis, and like salvation and all
Mhm.
of that. And so I'm kind of on this path of getting towards glorification. I don't know what glorification and anti-racism looks like, but I'm working my way there. So that's been for me the biggest growth. And it's hard work, but it's very worthwhile work, and I'm
And it's
enjoying
not
it.
about having a perfect endpoint. It's just
No,
it's about doing the work. We all need to try to do the work
absolutely,
and just be
absolutely.
better.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think that's it. I think, of talking about the memories and everything, and Batgirl Oracle is going strong, and I've got my grad school stuff is coming up, and Dear Reader is doing okay, I think. So there's a lot going on. Okay, now not to bring us down, I'm gonna do like this here, but the next I call it Spooderman, Spider-Man, or Spider Betrayal, or if we're being respectful, Spider-Man No Way Home. Is that what it's called? Did you see this film?
Okay, so I saw it yesterday, during the day to try to avoid crowds. And, as listeners may know, I can be, let's say, a tad critical of pop culture stuff.
A tad.
Look, I loved it. I loved
Oh,
it.
heck.
I loved it. And I was worried about, wait, what are we saying? Are we, I mean, are we being open about stuff, or are we
I think
being,
so. Yeah, so spoiler alert. I mean, it's been things are over the internet now after that weekend. So I think we're okay. And this won't come out until next week. So talk about what you want to talk about.
next week should be okay. All right. Um, I too was worried about what you were saying about, one day or brand new day kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Because I think, I didn't love that. I haven't read as much Spider-Man as you. I mean, I've read some of the classic runs, and I've read Peter and Miles and Spider-Gwen and Silk, whatever, but I don't think I've read as much as you have. But no, I didn't like that story. Like a lot of people didn't like that story because it was like 50 years of building something up and then it's gone. I felt differently about this because I felt like structurally this set of 3 Tom Holland movies didn't start with an origin, which I was okay with, not like the classic Spider-Man origin. So I felt like the way that they ended this was they gave us his origin at the end of this movie. So I thought that making it like that and not making it, super sad, he's never going to have a daughter named May kind of thing, and just making it about, okay, this is how Spider-Man begins. He learns this very important lesson from a family member, and he takes it to heart, and he makes the suit on the machine, and he jumps out the window of his crappy apartment that we've seen in comics. So anyway, I liked the way that it tied up. I was so happy to see one of my favorite people ever, Alfred Molina. Just so that carried me through a lot of it. So I thought that given the amount of things they were juggling, they did a really good job. I thought that the 3 guys were really great together, and that they found a way to sort of honor the older 2 without, while not taking away from this being Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So I'll just say that for now. What did you think? Were you just mad the whole way?
I was I just mad the whole I was not mad the whole way. I became very upset at one point. And then at the end of the film, I didn't really want to talk to anybody, but unfortunately, I was with 3 other people and I was upset for a long time. And then I became upset at Donovan, who it was no fault of his. It was just like wrong person, wrong time, wrong message to send me. And I just didn't want to, I muted conversations on face. I just needed to get over it because
Well, what was
it
it
was
that, okay,
unhealthy.
what was it then?
Okay. I'll tell you. Let me tell you. Do you want me to say what I liked first and then what I didn't like?
I don't care. Just say what
Okay.
you want to say.
Let me tell you, I've always felt betrayed, honestly, by not having an Uncle Ben situation. I understand not doing the origin story, but the fact that he's not even mentioned, in the first 2 films, I thought was problematic. And
Agreed.
then even in this one, his Tom Holland's Uncle Ben isn't mentioned, but we've got Uncle Ben, and then it just seems like really ostentatious that maybe that's not the right word, egregious that there's a missing Uncle Ben right there. And of course, Aunt May takes that moment, but I also was disheartened that she says the quote and then of course kicks the bucket. And I would have I mean, I know the other two.
That's how it happens though. Somebody's gotta die for Spider-Man to learn the lesson.
I know, but wouldn't there? I just wish you would have said it earlier so that it could have sort of simmered first before like having this climactic moment and then her life is cut short. For example, maybe in the feast conversation where she's
Mhm.
telling him things that he probably should
Mhm.
have known already about, basically
Yeah,
every life is worth something.
yeah.
That would have been, I think, the time so that he could have sat on it. And then if she repeated it again and then died, I would have been fine with it. But that whole thing was, oh my gosh. My main issue, and I think this is true of the whole of the trilogy, but this one again was egregious, is the humor. I think the
Mhm.
humor at times is inappropriate. It's like used inappropriately. Um, the villains, the first time you see all the villains in their cages and just how they're hamming it up, I'm like, what am I watching right now? And then after Aunt May dies, there's like a beat of solace. Um, and then it's hamming it up again, and I just thought, "Oh, man, there's no weight to this." And there were some weighty things going on, but I just felt that there was too much humor. And
It's funny that you say that. I felt like there was more crying than the average Marvel movie. I thought
that
there was a
might
whole
be
lot of
true.
crying, and some of which was excellent looking crying.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Andrew Garfield holding
Oh, yeah.
Zendaya, and you just see that. I mean,
Yeah.
that was great.
I will
So,
say, yeah, yeah.
and I didn't love the Andrew Garfield movies. I think maybe a lot of people didn't love the Andrew Garfield movies, but I thought he was great here.
Yeah. I
And
did, yeah.
I have to see Tick Tick Boom. I haven't done that yet.
Oh yes, I that's on my watch list as well. Seeing Toby and Andrew, I think I really love that. You really can't go wrong with them. I know that people do have different opinions on the Amazing Spider-Man series, but I love seeing the three of them together. So that's certainly a positive moment for me. And then I think Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, seeing him again, and I felt like that was the most appropriate representation of all the villains. Alfred Molina, him as Doc Ock, and I think it was like post redemption where he is kind of the nicer Doc Ock. So I totally got
Mhm.
it. But then some of the jokes, I was like, would Doc Ock be making some of these jokes? I don't know. But the Willem Dafoe is like, yeah, yeah, this is it. So there were moments enough that my anger would cool because I'm like, okay, this is okay. But then at the end, oh my gosh, the one more day situation. And I get what you're saying. And I think that now that I've cooled off, I can listen to you because before I'd probably be very childish and not going la 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 la. But seeing that whole situation, knowing they're gonna forget, very sad. And then
No,
of course,
I started to kind of roll my eyes at the forgetting is going to solve it, even though
yeah,
I knew going in that's what they would do. But I guess it just didn't carry the same level of annoyance it did for me in the comics, because I don't feel, and I think this actually kind of goes into why the humor didn't bother me either. I feel like this Tom Holland Spider-Man is immature,
okay.
and that was consistent through the three movies. And so because of that, because he just looks and acts younger than the other two, and because really his origin is now, in the last couple of movies, he was more a protege of Tony, right?
Yeah.
Who hadn't really learned the lesson about responsibility. Even though he had been through a lot of stuff, he hadn't quite learned it. So, I felt like this was Spider-Man in the making the whole time, a young Spider-Man in the making who makes immature decisions. And because of that, I also felt like his relationship with MJ was just like a cute little high school thing, as opposed to the level of weight that Peter and Mary Jane's relationship carried in the comics,
Right.
which made that storyline in the comics so painful.
Right.
It didn't feel painful to me here because it was like, oh, that's nice. They're high school kids that just got together.
Yeah.
He'll live.
Sure.
Don't marry your high school sweetheart anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so those were the reasons I went in expecting to be bothered by it, and I
Sure.
left less bothered than I expected, because
Okay.
I felt like the tone of it, which was sometimes jarring, I agree. I felt like that kind of went with who this Spider-Man presented as, just less mature than the others, because he didn't start out with that weight of responsibility in the same way.
Yeah. And I think it's my problem as like a shipper who wants, relationships to last.
Yeah,
But he does make a good decision. I mean, that's a really poignant moment where he's at the donut shop or wherever, and he's about to, it's also cute. He's fumbling around. So that's totally Peter Parker.
yeah,
And he sees that bandage on her head and realizes, her involvement with him and in his life caused that. And so he makes a mature decision, however much that
right,
hurts me. And one of the complaints, another complaint I had for this series is that Spider-Man's never alone. He's always in the shadow of some other hero. So you had, Tony, you had the death of Tony, and then you have Doc Strange. But now we're left. You're right. We're left at the end, and now it's like, oh, well, who is this Spider-Man? Hopefully on his own, making his own name. So if
yeah.
there is more, then perhaps I'll be more on board with this and really see who this Spider-Man character is. So I think, like I said, I'm getting over it. And I would like to see it again, I think, to give it another chance, because that's what I
Mhm.
did with Black Widow, where I wasn't necessarily set on my opinions with Black Widow the first time I saw it, but then it got a bit better for me the second time I viewed it. So
I have not watched that a second time yet. I didn't love it the first time, but I'll watch it again. I
yeah,
mean, it's on Disney Plus, so that's not hard to do.
sure is. Let me know if you notice the butt shots.
I would certainly do that. I am usually looking out for those things. I must have been not paying good enough attention.
I guess not. I was thrown off. I thought, wait, wasn't there a female director?
I did when I was getting dressed today. I was putting on this shirt that has two women talking, and it says, "You know what passes the Bechdel test? This shirt." And then I thought to myself, does No Way Home pass the Bechdel test?
Uh-oh.
Does it? I didn't actually then answer the question to myself because I put on a different shirt, but does it?
I don't think that it does. I don't think Betty Brant ever spoke to Mary Jane.
They just look to
Did
the
Aunt
camera.
May speak to Mary Jane at one point, but not about Peter? That would be the only other thing I would think of.
Did Ned's grandmother?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Although she might have been talking about
Food.
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, the cobwebs.
Yeah.
Get the cobweb while you're up there. Yeah.
So cute.
Oh, and then Daredevil popping up. Matt Murdock.
Nice.
So
And
that's
the brick
exciting.
catches the brick.
Yeah.
Classic.
He's a lawyer.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a good lawyer.
Yeah. Well, shall we move on from Spooderman? Okay. So
Sure.
our next happy topic is is called Young Justice. It's talking about Young Justice, but I've subtitled this segment as Carolyn the Bully because she bullied me, folks, into watching all of Young Justice in a
That's not
matter of days. Days. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't eat.
I'm pretty sure I said sometime in the past couple of years, have you watched Young Justice? That's probably it. That's probably the whole thing.
She may or may not be right, but you know,
But then I did ask you again a couple weeks ago because of a very recent episode where, you know, Oracle is in some ears and Cass is kind of more central.
Yes. So I wanted to watch Young Justice from the beginning because it had been a while and I never watched season 3, though I got it on Blu-ray. And so I'm glad that I did all of this rewatch because there are certainly callbacks to the first and second season, especially with like Artemis and those characters that I would not have known. And then of course there are Oracle moments, but I watched 8 episodes yesterday because of the fear of punishment from Carolyn. So we can talk about this now. So couple questions here. What are your thoughts on the origin of Oracle? Now we see in episode 7 or 8, not sure which one it was, that Cassandra's mission, her only mission, and the mission that she failed in from her mother, Lady Shiva, was to kill the Joker because the Joker was going against the light. And she is about to strike a lethal blow. And Barbara Gordon, as Batgirl, leaps in front of the Joker, back facing Cassandra, and Cassandra slashes her back, and that is how it happens. And as Barbara is bleeding up, yes?
Do we know for sure that that is what made her Oracle?
Not necessarily. That's true.
Yeah.
But she's not moving.
I know, I agree. No, I took it that way too when I saw it. And I did not like it one bit.
Oh, well.
And then I thought about it later and was like, well, maybe this was just an injury. But we don't know that it led directly to her being Oracle. It isn't, but we don't know.
We don't know. It's true. So as she's laying bleeding out and Orphan is there, Cassandra's there, and you can tell she's very distraught, even though her mask covers everything. And Barbara holds her hand and says, I didn't do it to save Joker. I did it to save you. So those are very poignant words. So overall, would you say that that whole scene didn't sit well with you then?
I think it was another way. It seemed to me like it was trying to make some sort of compromise between fans or writers who wanted the Joker to still be involved in something, in whatever made her Oracle, but to make Barbara the agent more of what happened, and to be doing something heroic when it happened that would then teach one of her mentees an important lesson. So I understand it, but I did not enjoy it. What did you think?
I also understand it. I like that she is given more agency. So I like that she was in action when it happened because, you know, obviously that doesn't sit well with us in The Killing Joke. She's just drinking some cocoa. My problem, I guess, is that I'm not emotionally invested in the relationship because
Mhm,
Cassandra just came out of nowhere.
mhm.
And from that moment, Barbara looks at her, I guess, sizes, I don't know, and is like, I need to save this person and protects the Joker. I would have bought into it more had there already been a previous relationship between the two of them. So later on, we see in both of those episodes that Barbara really wants Cassandra back. She's like a sister to her. And so if that
Yeah,
relationship had been established before, I could totally see
yeah,
her leaping in front of that blade and doing that. But
yeah. They're
she's
definitely
yeah,
telling us instead of showing us
yeah.
this relationship.
So she's just giving chance to someone that she's not even met. So I think that's my only hesitancy, to be 100% on board.
And my other would be, I feel like, decision making is one thing, but physically speaking, Cassandra doesn't make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
So, she has such amazing control of her body that I don't know. It just seemed like maybe she could have stopped herself
True. Pulled it back. And that means that Barbara would have had to have been super duper
quicker than Cassandra.
quicker than Cassandra. Do you believe it? I don't either. As much as I love Barbara,
And
I
as
think,
much, yeah, as
yeah,
much as I enjoy the two of them each telling each other they're the best Batgirl,
yeah,
no, I mean, Cassandra is in a class by herself, right? Even
yeah,
Batman says so.
yep. It is very true. Oh boy. But I did love the moment, I guess it was episode 8, where everyone's escaping from Santa Prisca and
Mhm.
Shiva comes out of the shadow area and like slices 2 of her own men and then is saying, "You get back your daughter. If not, I'm going to go after and kill Barbara Gordon." And
Yeah.
Cassandra loses it and she jumps out of there, fights her, and then stabs her. So you can tell how much. And then there's a nice little shot. They do these like little photo vignettes kind of at the end. They've been doing that a lot. And so one of them is of them two hugging, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So I believe in the relationship now. It's just like, whoop, where was
But
it before?
the way it just appeared was odd. I agree.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it would keep going after that episode, and then they totally changed the set of characters after that.
Yeah.
So that was, I was a little bummed about that. I was hoping for more of them.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing arcs in this one because the first 4 episodes were certainly focusing on Megan.
Yeah.
And then now it seemed more Artemis related. And then
Mhm.
the next, I'm not caught up. So I have 3 episodes. It looked like Clarion was on there. So I don't know if Zatanna is the focus of the next arc.
Uh,
Oh, are you not a fan of
like,
Clarion and
no,
Tinkle?
not not this Clarion anyway.
Okay.
I think he's pretty annoying, but it's like Vandal Savage, Dr. Fate, Clarion,
Oh,
and then Zatanna and
okay.
a couple younger people, including Mary Marvel.
Oh,
So it's just, it's more Vandal Savage than anybody else, and I
okay.
just am having difficulty getting into these 3.
The last thing I want to ask you is about Megan and Connor. Is now that relationship, spoilers, that relationship has been basically what everyone has been following from the beginning of this entire show. And yes, they've had some bumpy patches and it seemed like they were reaching some happiness. And again, spoiler, Connor is dead. Now, do you think that Connor is dead? Because, okay, the Legion's around, so I feel like there's hope.
Exactly. So I assume those Legion people were there and they somehow got his consciousness out of there or something like that. But
Something.
but even so, I was shocked. I mean, I kind of kept waiting for him to come back up, and I was like, are they? At first you're just like, oh, and then the meta brain kicks in, like, are they really doing this? Are they really doing this?
Yeah.
Wow. And then the post credit. Oh
Oh,
man,
wow. Yeah.
that was tough. That was really
Danica
tough.
Danica Keller
Oh,
crying for
Danica.
3 straight minutes basically on their altar or whatever you would call that they built, that they jointly separately built for their
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah. So that was, I also liked in that first arc. I mean, they laid it on a little thick, but I appreciated what they were trying to do about, they're talking about the importance of sort of found family, kind of queer kinship networks, and they're being anti-racist and whatever. And I liked all of that as a package. And then it ends with her crying for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was tough. But
Final. Yeah.
you didn't get around to Titans though, did you?
I didn't. And it's funny because each time Donovan rages about it, he hates it so much, but he has to watch it for
Oh
his
my
job.
God. It's like, I think I said to you, it's like driving by an accident. I couldn't stop watching it.
Oh,
With
dear.
Barbara, I was just like,
Oh, no. Okay.
and it's funny because every once in a while there would be a moment where I would be like, that's the Barbara Gordon I know. And then there would be 5 more things that I was like, oh my God, what?
Is it
So
true
it's
she
just,
yells at Bruce?
well, you can't go wrong with that. But yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is that. But it's such an odd show because there are with all the characters, these moments where I feel like these are the characters I'm used to. It doesn't make it right or wrong, I know. And then there's a whole other bunch of stuff where I'm like, wow, they're really just taking liberties with established character traits, I
Oh,
guess.
boy. Okay.
Um,
Well,
yeah, it's sometime when you have time, I would be curious to hear what you think.
yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about it. And so whenever Donovan rages, I'm like, well, Carolyn keeps telling me to watch it. And he's like, don't listen to that woman.
It's
So
because I don't want to be alone in
I
my
understand. I
feelings.
understand.
And
I
I'm pretty
understand.
confident you feel the same way that I
I
would.
I hope to not abandon you much longer, but the
I
Young Justice, at least Young Justice is an enjoyable
It's good.
watch, and I
Yeah.
become emotionally invested. So I guess
Yeah.
Teen or Titans will be a hate watch. And you just did season 3, so I'm you're okay with me skipping first 2 seasons?
Yeah, you won't, they'll tell you what you need to know to
Okay.
catch you up. I did watch, I would say I watched parts of the first 2 seasons. Like I kind of alternated reading summaries of episodes with watching
Sure.
pieces of episodes. So, but the addition of Barbara is just so, I don't know, it's like a magnet for me or something. I just have to know. I have to
Yeah.
know.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Final question about Young Justice. What are your thoughts on all the mourning and grief that they've packed onto Connor, but the fact that and a lot. So, I mean, Megan, of course, Artemis is really feeling it. Um, Gar, and then Clark. So those are the ones I think we've seen most
Mhm.
ostensibly, but we didn't really get that a lot with Wally. Do you have any thoughts on that? I don't know. Why? Was it just timing? Because that was at the end of season 2. So
Yeah. I do think it's probably that, because then when season 3 starts, aren't we supposed to have moved forward in time a little
yeah, I
bit?
think 2
I don't
years.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's why they didn't do as much, whereas this is more of like in real time kind of
Yeah.
thing. Or I mean, because I think everybody loved Wally the same way everybody loved Connor, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that.
Okay. Well, here's hoping the shipping
Yeah.
will continue. I was just like, what's happening? Why have you done this?
Yeah.
Okay, so the last topic is a serious topic, the only one we have before we get into, I guess we kind of did our find our joy with the end of 2021, the review that we're going to do for this vintage stock. And this happened, I briefly talked about it to myself, no one else heard it, a couple months ago. It must have been in October, I guess, when I went to see Legally Blonde, and then Zoom crashed, and I thought, I'm not going through that again. But in watching Legally Blonde, the musical, which I think the film came out 2001, musical was like 2007-ish. Now I've forgotten because I had my show notes and I don't now. Whenever I heard in the musical like whore or slut, I kind of shook a bit, which I wouldn't normally do. I think a few years ago, it wouldn't have affected me as much. And I was wondering, as the chief feminist correspondent, my sensei, do you feel like these terms? So I've put in et cetera, but like bitch, slut, whore, but specifically coming from women. So women to women, because I think that the sense is always the same when it's coming from a man directed from a woman. But I feel like we used to be able to, we as women, say it in good fun, and it'd just be like, oh, pish posh. Or I don't know, meeting each other on equals, but you're clearly angry at the other person. I think it's received differently than a man saying it to you. But now it just feels like, I don't know, we're not really post Me Too, but like in the midst of Me Too, and I think this call that all women need to be supportive of each other, that it really it I don't want to say triggering, but I kind of am taken aback as if it's like a heavier swear word. How do you feel about this? Have these affected you differently when you're hearing them in the wild, or not directed at you, but just like in a show or in a TV show that might have been in the past and it just feels different? Or is it just me?
Yeah, no, no, I don't think it's just you. I think that a lot of people are looking at older media and kind of blanching at certain words and treatment, kind of overall treatment of people from certain demographic groups. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing if what used to get passed off as just being funny, um, or people were only mad because they were too sensitive, and the people who were always being accused of being too sensitive happened to be from like a marginalized group. I think if there's more awareness of that, that is a good thing, because I think even with when you're talking about women saying it to other women, I think that's also pretty dependent on who the women are. So, like the very recently passed away feminist author Bell Hooks,
Mm,
would write a lot about second wave feminism in particular, but she was still saying kind of the same things. And very recently, not all women have the same privileges, not all women have the same concerns. And so it's important to sort of pivot the center away from particularly more privileged, more upper class white women, and to make sure to be inclusive of all other women, who of course make up the majority of Earth anyway. So there's no reason for white privileged women to be at the center in the first place. So I think that even within women, you can still have differences that are based on class and race and ethnicity and religion and region, that makes those women unequal too. I think that between people who are equals, you should be able to pretty much say anything you want, as long as the other person is understanding how the thing is being said.
yeah.
If you're saying terms like that because you're saying them with irony and you're reclaiming them, that's fine. But if you're saying it at someone that maybe you don't know that well, or if you're saying it at someone who maybe doesn't have the same privileges you do, then maybe it's not so funny.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be my general take on it. What do you feel like
I
you're
agree with
you're,
you.
you're
Yeah.
hearing it with more discomfort now, it
I
sounds
am
like.
hearing, and I mean, I don't really want anyone to be calling me any of these terms. There's one term in particular that if anyone says it in my presence, I will ask them not to, and that's the C word.
Mhm.
That's probably my least favorite word in the English lexicon.
Although I would point out, if they're British, it's not
Isn't
really
that
the same
weird? That's
level.
so weird. Yeah. Yeah. Which I want to go to I want to go to England. So I'm like, oh gosh, I have to deal with, hearing that in the vernacular.
Yes, you will. And when I was a junior in college and I did study abroad in England, I was like, oh my God, what is
What's
happening?
happening? Yeah.
And then I kind of realized that at least among my particular circle of British friends that I made, calling someone a cow was worse. Like,
Oh,
okay,
interesting.
I didn't realize. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but for us, that tends to be the word.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's interesting. There was one of my coworkers that was just talking. Some of them talk to themselves and like pep each other up, but they pep each other up in like a negative way. And she said, and what was the quote? Oh, well, I'll say two swears. So here we go. She said, okay, Megan, what'd she say? Let's get this shit done, bitch. And I'm just sitting there because it's right behind me, like, what? I think I did audibly make a sound, but I'm just like, why would that pep you up? Like, that's something that just is sad to me. And
Well,
I
if
guess you
you're,
can just couldn't take it, but
if they have an understand, I mean, if the person saying it to themselves hears it in a certain way, or if someone says it to someone else and they have an understanding that they're kind of reclaiming this word in an empowering way, then it's one thing. It's just
Yeah,
that you have to make sure you have that understanding with someone.
it's true. Yeah.
And I think that what we, very often when I'll just repeat kind of the very often when you hear someone saying that, oh, I just made a joke, you're being too sensitive, you probably maybe should think about that. If someone is telling you that a thing that you said was hurtful, instead
Yeah.
of blaming them for being too sensitive, maybe rethink that the thing you said doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's that difficult.
Yeah.
It just is about having empathy.
I would agree. I would agree. Yeah. Well, I don't think these terms are going away, but
Yeah.
hopefully, my hope is that just as women, we're banding together. So there's nothing more disappointing. Well, I shouldn't say that. There are a few things more disappointing than when I'm witnessing a woman tear down another woman, whether it's like professionally or personally, just because I feel like we've got to stick together. So that's my hope there. But I don't use those terms. I use chick, but I think that's allowed. I use chick and lady and woman, but I think I'm allowed to use those terms. I don't
Put
want a
some
man saying, "Hey, chick." I don't want that, but I think I'm allowed to say it woman to woman.
Okay,
Oh.
but some people hate it.
Oh,
So you have to
well,
think
that's true.
about that, right? Like, so you are comfortable with it, but that doesn't mean that somebody else is.
You're right. And so if they told me, please don't call me chick, then
And you don't do it,
that is correct.
right?
And I would apologize,
Right.
of course.
And
Yeah.
and again, that's the response. Like if someone, not you personally, but just if someone tells you that something that you had said hurts them, then it is on you,
Yeah.
not on them to toughen up. Just
It
don't
is
say the
true.
thing to them. Why would you say a
Absolutely.
thing that bothers somebody, right?
I don't know. In my defense, I say it about people off the street. I say, "What's this chick doing?" So they never know, but I take your lesson. That's what I preach about anti-racism too. You gotta, own what you did and apologize, and then move forward.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for discussing and bringing your wisdom to that topic.
I'm not sure how much wisdom it was, but it's just about listening and having empathy and meeting people where they are, because it may not be the same place you are.
It's very true. Okay, well, as bad as transitions are sometimes, we are transitioning to actual comics.
I don't even like the cover of this.
So, friends, if you remember, I was going to do this like 2 months ago or something, and I just couldn't do it. I looked through it and I thought, I can't do it. I don't know. I
Can,
just had no motivation.
can you scroll down just to show the bottom half of it a little more?
Yes, I will.
So this kind of woman pose drives me nuts, because no
Yes.
no one stands like that unless they are, like lowering themselves to a toilet. That's what I think of when I look at it.
Interesting. Sliding down the wall.
Yeah, like I have to pee now. Because otherwise women tend not to stand holding in their stomach, sticking out their chest and sticking out their butt. It's just not a thing.
Well,
Maybe I shouldn't speak. I will not speak for all women, but
yeah.
I think in general, it's not a common pose, but it is common in superhero comics of the 80s to the early 2000s.
Yeah. It also looks like she's biting her lower lip, but that might just be me.
Right. It looks like a pouty, scaredy face, which
Yeah.
I also don't appreciate much. This isn't Bill Sienkiewicz though, right? Who did the cover?
I don't think so. And I've forgotten who did. Oh, look, I'm giving. I don't know. You can always Googanate while I give the synopsis.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give a synopsis for this. It's called DC First, Batgirl/Joker, and the story is called Clown Time. July 2002 is the cover date. Writers Stephen Grant, pencilers Bill Sienkiewicz, and Terry Moore. And I'll show you later on where that break is. Inkers Bill Sienkiewicz and Jimmy Palmiotti, and then colors Sherilyn Van Valkenburg. Okay, so Cassandra Cain's Batgirl, because I'm going to need to specify, bursts onto the scene of a concert turned heist led by former Soviet military special forces called Radovic. Several of the Ruskies are being accidentally killed by their own people. Please remember this detail. The leader threatens to kill the drummer. He already machine gunned the leader, the lead singer, who is apparently very valuable. And then the leader gets away. I have a question about that later on. Later at the clock tower, Babs tells Cass that she did well, but Cass says she wasn't good enough since there were many dead, and she also neglects to mention that the bad guy got away. Babs blows it off in a, it is what it is. It est quod it est, or c'est la vie kind of way. And, you do the best you can given the circumstances. Cass tries to tell Babs, no, Cass tries to say Babs doesn't understand. And then Babs says, hey, a quote I would say, listen, lady, that's me actually, and rolls a yarn about her first encounter with Joker as Batgirl. In the early days, apparently, being Batgirl was fun and a sport. I don't get where this is coming from. Unfortunately, she learned the hard way about her mistakes and that it was not all fun and games. She figured out Joker's intended victims. He was on some sort of murder spree, but it was a trap. Admiral Akbar was there with us because Joker killed them in front of her. She says them, but it just looks like one person, so I'm a bit confused about that. Then he knocks her out and attaches her later on to a spinning murder board, and he's throwing knives at her. Joker explains it's rigged, but she will die nonetheless. She is able to get out of her shackles by the time Batman arrives. And Joker is accidentally shooting his crew, accidentally on purpose, and even shoots Batman in the head. My question is how? And Barbara thinks that it's her fault that he got shot. Batgirl quickly realizes that everything she does, Joker turns into a joke. So she starts laughing at him, which seems to be his kryptonite. And he goes nuts because he doesn't like people laughing at him. It opens him up to attack and she takes him out. This interaction changed her outlook forever. She then briefly reflects on the killing joke, and Cass says that she gets her point. Well, clearly Cass did not get her point, as she thinks it means to go after the Joker, who is inside Arkham Asylum. So she has to break him out before she can fight him. Barbara is furious and calls Dinah to help. And Dinah says that Barbara needs to call Batman. And Barbara, apparently, for whatever reason, is nervous because it's Batman. And it's even scarier when Batman doesn't yell. Joker wakes up from whatever Cass injected him with and immediately jumps off of a building. Batgirl saves him but gets knocked out in the process. When she wakes up, she follows a trail of bread slices, which I did think was funny. She sees Joker has drawn a smile on her mask and she rips the bottom half off. As she follows Joker, Black Canary and Batman follow her, and Batman says to Black Canary, as one says to a dog, leave it, i.e., Cass has to finish this situation. Cass falls into a trap, seems like multiple, and falls out of a building and continues on. Joker goes to some sort of club and shoots the manager because of the ultimate betrayal. He's not funny. But Cass prevents him from killing the manager with a batarang. A fight ensues, and somehow Joker destroys Cass's arm, numbs it, it seems. Canary and readers, I think, wonder how this is possible. But Batman mansplains and says that Cass can't translate Joker's body language because it's gibberish. Batman doesn't let Dinah intervene. Cass suddenly thinks of Babs' lesson and feigns disinterest and calls Joker boring. This sets him off and he opens himself up to attack and, like mother, like daughter, knocks him out. Batman appears and says, never again, and to get him back to Arkham Asylum. She returns to Babs, and Babs is relieved and upset. Also, Batman pulls a disappearing act. Cass admits she had to prove that she is as good as Babs. Babs says she originally didn't want Cass to be Batgirl and it was Batman's idea, but now she admits he was right. It's not a competition, but a team. It's not a competition, but a team, and that they all want each other to be the best blank as possible. So the best Batgirl as possible, Nightwing, etc. But Cass can't be the best Batgirl possible because Barbara was the best Batgirl. Dun 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 dun. And thus ends this right here. Okay, we'll start off easy, shall we? So we talked about the cover a bit. Thank you very much for that. Thoughts on the art overall? I guess the two sections, of course. So the majority of it is Bill Sienkiewicz, and then we have the flashback of Barbara as Batgirl. That's where we have Terry Moore, and you can kind of see if you're a fan of Terry Moore's work, you can definitely see his style in that.
I wasn't sure, but it also mentions Jimmy Palmiotti. So I wasn't really sure what was his. Do you know?
I have in my when I was looking it up anyways that he was
Mhm.
a colorist with
Oh,
Sienkiewicz
okay.
or an inker, sorry.
Okay. I think it was a good idea to use the two different artists. I mean, I like it when a flashback looks different from the main part of the story. I think Bill Sienkiewicz's art is brilliant, as a lot of people do. I'm just not used to it here. So I feel like it's not quite fair to say it doesn't work, but it doesn't really work for me. I guess I'm used to him on like New Mutants and Elektra, Daredevil, stuff like that. Um, but here to me, the way, especially in the beginning pages, his cast looks kind of like older and thicker as opposed to younger and petite. Doesn't quite work for me because I think that's part of her thing, that she seems kind of small. I do like there's a panel that I think is like perfect Sienkiewicz with bats, where it's on the bottom of what I guess you could consider page 5, where Cass is kind of in the shadow of a bat. She like it's like a bat shaped shadow, and she's sort of in the middle of it. But so I think the art is good in that Bill Sienkiewicz is a super talented guy. It just didn't quite work for me with Cass. What did you think?
I don't like his art from this. I would say I don't like his art. I just went all the way to the end. When I first opened it up, where are we? Why aren't you moving? Okay. Oh, there are just so many lines, like maybe too many. And so for me, yeah, it took a little bit to get into. And I don't know how much experience. I'm sure I've probably seen other Sienkiewicz work. But so I think I'll just agree with you and say that it doesn't work for me here. But I just might be like I don't like it here more specifically. I don't know. It also has like a feel some Denny O'Neil situations too. It kind of looks a bit like am I thinking of the right guy? But anyways,
I don't think so.
um
Denny O'Neil wrote, he didn't draw.
yeah, I'm trying to think of who I mean. Oh, he did that I'll think about it. But thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for woman splaining me. So I would yeah. It got better, but that was initially what turned me off and why I didn't want to read it. And then of course I saw the Joker. The flashbacks, I mean, there's some cool things. Like I think that that's a
Mhm.
really cool image right there where
Yeah, I
Cass
like
is
the
training with
frame.
the
The
hog.
framing
Yeah.
of it is cool with Babs in the middle.
Yeah. Um yeah, I really like Terry Moore. I feel like I've read everything that he's written. Well, all of his contained stories. And I know that he does have a short segment, I think, on some Birds of Prey. So that'll be interesting. But I totally see some of his art style here as we're going through it. So
Mhm.
it's okay. Okay. So now I'm getting into these questions. First of all, would Cassandra have I shouldn't say allowed, but do you think this first death, isn't it this one, would have, I guess it's that guy, right? Where basically she jumped out of the way and someone gets killed because we know that Cass is all about no one dies. And she holds on to it to a certain extent, but even as she's talking to Barbara, and I know what she's saying, but doesn't carry the weight that I think I'm used to when reading her actual stories.
Yes, I mean, I think I read it the same way that you did. Like I was surprised by it because I mean, it's kind of a big thing. Wasn't there kind of an early Batgirl issue where someone dies and she's very right?
Yep.
Did you talk about with Donovan maybe?
Yeah,
So this just doesn't seem to carry the same weight as that.
I would agree. So when I saw someone die, I thought, who, what is this? So already my hackles were up, or there were red flags, I think, to a certain extent. Do you feel like this man gets away? I mean, what is the resolution here? He's shooting everyone. And here at the bottom of this page, Cass, it literally looks like Cassandra, well, Batgirl is watching this man go away. And then, of
I
course,
I agree. That's what it
okay.
looks like.
Okay. But then she's told, good job from Barbara. How is that even remotely close to being a good job? Okay.
Uh,
Okay. I mean, I
I
just
may,
have a lot of I'm confused
I may
questions.
not have answers to all of your questions,
That's fine. That just means that I read it correctly and I'm not alone in my confusion.
or the
Okay.
latter anyway.
Yes. What do you think about, and this is, I guess, Barbara, we can just talk about Barbara's overall characterization here, but she seems, I called it in my show notes, which I misspelled it, but laissez-faire. She has a very laissez-faire attitude of, you did a good job, I know, just got to pick yourself up. Hey, whatever happens, happens. Ooh, I don't, would you, there's like no gravitas with Barbara here.
No. I agree with you again.
Okay. So then the
This
other,
might be a pretty short discussion.
guess that's fine. We can speed through this thing. So
All
then
right, go.
the other one moment that pulled me away was after Cass left and she realizes what she's done, and she has this, nope. Well, that's not an attractive Barbara, by the way. Where was that? Whew, not so sure about that. That's another thing about his art, is just Barbara doesn't look as attractive as I'm used to. But this where she's frightened, she's nervous about how Batman's going to react. Why? She doesn't give a flying what about that, and she's given as good as she's gotten from him. So do you feel like this rings false as well? Okay. Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
Oh,
So
I'm
this,
sorry. That's bad radio. I'm nodding. I'm
she
nodding.
was, yes, she was not. At first, she was shaking her head, but I think it was, she wasn't sure where I was going with my question. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that he'll yell at me. She's like nervous about this. I just couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it.
No.
Okay, her origin story, all fun and games. Now, this is not the first time I've read this recently, but I can't remember where it was that I read it. It happened this year, that this origin is, she just put it on. And she did put on the costume for a lark originally, but once she actually realized what it meant, I felt like the fun and games was gone. But this is like, she knows what it means, but she's also up for fun and games. I mean, is this just a new reading of this is 2002, but I can't remember about this other thing. I think it was like a Nightwing or something. Anyways, ooh, what do you think about this origin story? Can we go with it, or are we being too hard on it?
No, I felt like they were trying to call to, literally her first appearance, where she does it. She makes the costume for a lark to make, so her father sees it at the ball or whatever. And then she sort of thinks that the adventure of it is interesting and perhaps fun, but that's one issue. That doesn't mean her whole early tenure as Batgirl was fun and games. I mean, just painting her like that just makes it seem like she's not serious at all, which I think is not accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were like, day one, I thought it was going to be fun and games.
Yeah.
Okay, but not after that, really.
I would agree. And I don't think, I mean, going into the Joker thinking it's going to be fun and games, I mean, there's no sense of danger. Like, she's being very flippant about who this guy is and how dangerous he is. And I just don't see that as being something Barbara would do. Even though I love her, I could almost see that being something Stephanie would do in her, like, first bout, like really coming up against someone like, I can do this, but not, and then making a grave error. But I don't know about Barbara. Okay. Well, we're still in agreement, folks. So
I agree.
this is good. This is cementing our friendship here. I just, yeah, a note or a question. I don't know if he was in this flashback, he had a bunch of victims and he shot them all at once, or it was just one at a time. I mean, this is just a detail that we don't necessarily need the answer to, but it does say all I got was a ringside seat when he murdered them. But it just looks like one person. And
It
I wonder,
does.
was she messing up multiple times and saw multiple killings? And then the final one, she gets knocked out. Cause that's really bad. If that's, that would be like, oh, Barbara, you should not be Batgirl if this is happening multiple times and multiple people have died. And also, why isn't Batman around if this is true? So that's like a confusing story point that I wasn't totally following.
Yep. These are all valid questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Laughing at the Joker seems to be a theme. And actually, it's the second time that you've been on that we've talked about this. I can't remember what modern Batgirl it was, but we read one that we didn't like. Maybe it was 47, 48, I don't know. But she laughs at him. And I remember you had brought up a quote from Margaret Atwood about, I think it's something like, what does a man fear? And then can you guess
Men
what
are, yeah, men are afraid that women will laugh at them, but women are afraid that men will kill them.
Yes. Yeah.
It was, I think it was a Castellucci issue, right?
I think so.
And
Yes.
so I think I was just saying, because the whole thing was about, hi, I just laughed at him and then everything was fine. And she quoted the first half of the Margaret Atwood, but not the second half, which is really the chilling part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Also, where's her hair? But anyway.
Right there in the back. Yeah, I know. Yes, Alan is probably wondering the same thing. Professor Allen, my chief hairstyle correspondent. I don't know. Yes, you'd think you'd be able to see it on in that bottom left panel there. And then you can see her in profile. But is this believable, you think, for Joker? And it seems to be the standard now for, I shouldn't say standard, but we've seen it more than once. So now I'm like, well, is this the status quo of that's how a Batgirl can get at a Joker, is by laughing at him?
Okay, I guess I appreciate what they're trying to do here, but I just feel like it's been done a number of times. The Joker's crazy. He's unpredictable. He's very violent. He only cares about Batman. He hates it when you laugh at him because he likes to be the one to make the jokes. Okay, yeah, I get it. But we've just seen it a few times. Maybe we hadn't seen it a few times in 2002.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like we have now. So I just, yeah. I mean, also I understand the idea of you're laughing at him because he hates it, but maybe instead of laughing at him, you could like take him down and arrest him. I don't know. Just an idea.
Do you think laughing at him could have saved her from the Killing Joke?
No, I think he would have shot her twice. You know, I mean, if he hates it, then why would it not just make him more angry instead of making him put off balance or something? If he's violent and unpredictable, why would this even work in the first place?
Yeah. Guess he really opens himself up to attack.
Yeah, I guess.
A note on the cowl situation. Do you think this is believable? That Batman is shot by a bullet?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it goes right through his head.
Yep.
Which is a lot, but I guess we're supposed to think it grazed the side and just was really bloody or something.
Yeah, and then that's something I complained about in the Killing Joke, because whoever, I guess it was Joker, who ripped off his mask, and I thought, should you be able to do that to Batman's couch and it have some sort of hard shell to it?
Mm-hmm.
But then also he's carted off by ambulance, and I didn't think that was realistic. You think Batman can go to Gotham General?
No, I think somebody would call Leslie, right?
I would
Leslie,
so,
come and stitch him up, or Alfred would do it,
Yeah, probably Barbara would be the one.
There are contingency plans for these things.
Yes. So then we get into this where Cass has this bright idea to do this whole thing. So several questions on this. Number one, would Cassandra do this insane thing? And how on earth does she make the connection to do this? Because even Barbara says, like, I think she got out of what I said, da, 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 da. And I thought, how can you get out of that what you just said?
I don't think this is a good idea, what she's doing. No.
Okay. Can you make the leap that she made? A leap in logic?
It is not something I would have thought she would do.
I would agree. Yeah, it just seems insane to go to Arkham to break somebody out whom I feel like she knows is really lethal and dangerous and knows
Uh-huh.
everything about him more so than Barbara does. So she's on the other side where she knows everything there is to know potentially about the Joker. Just to test herself seems pretty ridiculous. I don't know how she gets the drugs because that doesn't seem like she would have in stock. And then just that leap in logic, and Barbara even somewhat says that it's, I might have accidentally suggested that she had to fight him to prove herself. I don't get that leap. There's like some sort of fallacy going on.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Did not see that happening.
Okay. I do like that Dinah's the one Babs calls. I think that's a positive aspect of this, that
Yeah,
she's freaking
agreed.
out. She wants her help. But Dinah's like, no, this is not the job for Black Canary. It's the job for Batman, which I think makes somewhat sense, even though I'm sorry that Dinah thinks that way of her. Would Batman allow this after he knows, of course, given that he didn't want Cass going after her father? I mean, this seems to me much worse.
Can I, yes. I would also say something else about this page. When the
Oh,
Joker's
sure.
involved, you don't call the Black Canary, you call Batman.
Yes.
But why can't you call the Black Canary?
Well, that's what I contradicted to you 30 seconds ago, but because I thought, well, it's like a Joker villain or it's a Batman villain, maybe. But you're right. I mean, if Dinah is the one who I would say is like top 5 fighter of the DC, hopefully she'd be able to take Joker down. So I guess
Yeah.
I can see that.
I guess. I just thought it was odd. I don't know. Are we almost done here?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we'll speed through. Wow. I can't wait to hear your rating. That's fine.
No, I just was, I like you, I just, every couple
Ooh, a butt
pages, I
shot.
just was shaking my head, you know?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah. Like I said, I did enjoy the bread. I thought that was actually somewhat funny. And then
Mhm.
the ripping off of the mask, I thought, oh, well, that's like the Cass. And of course she has to sew it back on. Okay.
Does she usually wear lipstick though?
No. But I mean ripping off.
But I know, but did you see it on, no, on the next
Um,
look in the upper left-hand corner there?
no. Do you think maybe she just has really ruby red lips?
Hmm. That must be what it is. Yeah.
Don't know what to say. Okay. The fight between Cass and Joker. We are almost over. Don't worry. What do you think? Is this believable that because his body movements are gibberish, she can't handle his fighting skills as well, and whatever he does to her arm, which I'm not sure. But this is certainly something I always ask when he fights Batman. Like, why can't Batman just knock him out? What's going on here? Is this believable coming from Batman? His mansplaining, his bat-splaining explanation
I feel like we've seen this before. Have we not seen this explanation before?
for
About
Cass?
no, for anyone about how
Oh,
the Joker is unpredictable. So
I suppose. So that's like the go-to, I guess.
I feel like I've seen it before, but I have not been able to put my finger on it over the last several days that I've been thinking about it. And which is kind of bugging me, but I think that Cass has a great advantage in her being able to read people. But I think it's also true that even if she were not reading people, she would still be a good fighter. I know, despite the whole plot line of when she first, oh God, I don't know, you're not there yet, right? That in her own comic, when she gets, what happens? Someone does something to her brain and then.
Yes, I'm there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then she worries that she doesn't have the same skills that she used to, and she fights Shiva and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
Okay. But she's also extremely well trained, right? So even if she doesn't have the upper hand over someone like Shiva right away,
Shiva?
why? I know, I was just thinking it when I said it. It just seems like the Joker is not in the League of Shadows league of hand-to-hand fighters, is he? So why would it be that much of a problem?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think Taskmaster is Joker so unpredictable that Taskmaster would be unable to catalog his moves? I mean, is that what we're saying about Joker?
I think that's what they're trying to tell us, yeah,
Okay.
but it kind of seems unlikely because I think most people have signature moves
Yeah.
that they think are most effective and that they're most comfortable with. So he probably does too. And you'd think Batman would know some of them at this point.
One would think. One would think. Okay. Final question, and then you can breathe a sigh of relief.
No,
Just
again, I really do see what they're trying to do. It just didn't
yeah.
work for me.
Oh, I understand. The final conversation between Barbara and Cass. I guess I'll just say thoughts. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So, all the way through this, I was kind of like, eh, eh. And then I kind of got to the very end and I was like, oh, so I don't feel like for me it redeemed the whole thing, but I do appreciate showing how much they respect each other.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think I would just say Cass goes to extremes to show that. I feel like there could have been another way. Could there have been another villain? I guess just go to the extreme and choose Joker, but how nostalgic would it be if Cass had broken out Killer Moth? Though I guess that would have been a very easy fight, but it would have been fun to see that. But yeah, just and I think the realization too for Babs of maybe I don't want to say that maybe she thinks no one respects her, but I think maybe she didn't know how much someone did respect her or highly regard her and appreciate her term as
Mhm.
Batgirl, because there certainly have been times stories that Barbara's like, what good am I, especially what Crisis on Infinite Earths 11, what good am I, how am I helping Gotham? And so I think this almost validates that for her. So I think it is, I agree with you, a beautiful moment between the two, and at least we can see that relationship. So that's probably the most positive
Yeah.
part of the whole issue. Okay. Well, rating out of I don't even know, 10 Arkham Asylum break-ins.
Um, this might, I mean, someone else might react very differently to this. I just feel like I've seen elements of this story before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not very patient with it. And like I said, I mean, I think Bill Sienkiewicz is a great artist. It just didn't work for me here.
Yeah.
I did like the end. I liked the way that the flashback was different art. So I guess I would give it a 7.
That's higher than I had imagined you giving it.
Well, I'm trying to think of like, the way I felt about it was lower
Sure.
than that. But I don't think it's
Oh, I see.
inherently unworthy, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
My rating is kind of a compromise between those two things.
I understand. I think I might give it a 5 or a 6. So I'll be more generous and give it a 6. Not really as down with the art, in my opinion, as you can hear from all of the things that I've been asking. I had many questions about the story that just didn't, well, questions that I think is just wasn't plotted as well. And then I think characters making decisions that were a bit bizarre and maybe misleading character wise. But the positives, of course, would just be seeing Barbara Gordon and Cass together and Dinah popping up and then having that moment at the end.
Yeah,
So there are positives for sure.
yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, I do have one listener email. It's short. It's from Ian Prime
Okay.
regarding episode 213. He says, Dear Stella, what a lovely guest your priest was. Very knowledgeable, full of energy and curiosity and grace. I wonder, have you read The Eagle of the Ninth novel? I continue to wait with bated breath for the Batgirl's title. I'm curious what cover or covers you are going or hoping to get, Ian Prime. Well, I have not read The Eagle of the Ninth, though I should probably put that on my reading list since we of course talked about it. And then I ended up getting the digital copy of that. I haven't gotten print comics in a while, so now I've been doing the digital. But I feel like once the trade comes out, I'll probably collect it that way as well. But all of the covers, I wish I had thought about this in the early morning when I was doing some prep for the show that, well, I could maybe get the cover images to show everyone, but they're all wonderful, and probably maybe the Babs Tar one just because I'm a big fan of Bad Star, but also I think the cover image that I put on this episode cover is a really cool one as well. But many of them just have Cass and Steph and not Babs, which is interesting. So the one that's, I guess, the primary cover that comes out for Batgirls #1, you have the two, Steph and Cass, and then Batgirls or Barbara, sorry, is up there in the corner. And I wonder what that's saying about the story, or I shouldn't say the story, but the book as a whole, which is a question that I'll have later on. It just feels very symbolic to me. But, anyways, we'll get into that. Okay, well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, heavens, we are going to cover some modern quickies, including Batman Urban Legends, Joker, and Nightwing. And then we will do a full review of Batgirls #1. But first, Zaius' Radio Hour featuring Athena by Tristan.